Hop up out the gym, turn my Peruse news on, take a look in no mirror, because there's no mirrors around here, to say what's up in. What's going on, you guys? It is Somer del Piso back once again with another episode of Peruse the News with the captain of the cruise, yours trues, Somer del Piso. So as per usual, like, comment, subscribe. This is a segment of the channel where we're just going to analyze some news articles based off my experiences in life and just my personal opinions that I carry with, throughout life with me on a day-to-day that may or may not imprison me. So take that as you will. But like I said, let's get right into it. So I have a couple articles as per usual that I would like to analyze with you guys. I'm just trying to find the app right now. I got something interesting. I subscribed to a couple more magazines and news sources recently. Of course, not at an extra cost, but just to get like a whole plethora of mindsets. We're here in the British GQ magazine right now. Article written by Tom Ward. The title of the article is "The best summer body workout is one that maintains a healthy physique all year round." Naturally, we know this, but it's just, there's this prevalent mindset. It's like, okay, it's getting hot, sun's out, guns out, or it's getting hot, so we gotta make sure that since we're wearing less clothes, that the skin that we do show looks good. The muscles that we are gonna show are defined and robust. There's this prevalent mindset of people only working out solely to look good in the summer, and then after that season where you tend to wear a lot more clothes, it doesn't matter how you look like. You can have a little pudgy belly, little punch. But this guy is sort of arguing that the best summer body workout is a body that you have maintained and cultivated all year round. I couldn't agree more. So in the age of fit talk and endless online fitness influencers, like in quotations, with nothing to do all day but bash out a so-called summer body workout, it can be tempting to think everyone but you is in drastically sexy shape all the time. We're increasingly obsessed with celebrities too, to the degree that our idea of what a man should look like has changed, rapidly so. If you are looking at like Creed and believing that Michael B. Jordan is the peak, the zenith of what a man should look like, which, to be honest, he did a lot of work for that film too. And Jonathan Majors, right, for the latest Creed movie. Like, he did so much. The thing is, whether he used steroids or not is questionable, because he did get that strong and that defined in a very, very short period of time. I think it was under a year. So take that as you will. But if you think that that is the peak of how men should look like, then you have a lot to learn about the life game, genetics play a big role in how we develop muscles and just how we develop in general physically. And some people just develop in places better than others, or a bit more than others. And when people have more access to money, which means more access to different types of drugs, wink, wink, you'll be envious of how those people look like. Let's see what else this guy has to say. Take a look at Russell Crowe's physique in Gladiator. A little over 20 years ago, a Roman general was supposed... By the way, they're making a second Gladiator movie. I don't know if you guys even know about the Gladiator film. Very, very good movie. Are you not entertained? And, Joaquin Phoenix's wonderful role as the jealous son, A little over 20 years ago, a Roman general was supposed to not look that much more hench. Hench, it's a British colloquial, which means like strong, and brolic, which is a colloquial from New York, which means strong. More hench than the average guy. Cut to Paul Mescal getting absolutely tanked for the sequel this year, and you could see just how far our expectations of the male bodies have changed. The thing is, like I said, we have this idea, the male beauty standard, right, is like now infused with a lot of drugs, a lot of Photoshop, a lot of airbrushing, and not really true strength. Honestly, like, this is me. Like, I've been going to the gym for a really long time. I'm athletic. I don't even prescribe to a lot of the beauty standards for men, or like how men are supposed to look like, but I just try to be as fit as I could possibly can be. And I just try to eat well. That's my thing. I think that it'll do a lot of people well if they sort of looked at things this way, but we're all growing, right? Eventually we'll get there. We're all guilty of perpetuating this idea. When actors or qualified personal trainers speak to us about body transformations, they always stress that the actor doesn't look their best 24/7. Rather, they've trained brutally for months on end just for one specific shirtless scene in the film. They're actors. You gotta do what you gotta do in order to score that role. In other words, walking around like a Greek god isn't achievable for most of us. Yeah, instead of exhausting yourself trying to do a summer body workout in the lead up to your holiday, why not aim for something less intensive and kinder year round? I always say this, like for me, because I like the gym, I don't know if you guys could tell. If you're trying to be functionally strong and, you know, cut up a little bit, there are like the trinity of exercises that one should do. The bench press, the flat or inclined bench press. It's when you're on a bench and you're just pushing up a barbell, you put weights on either side, you train, you use your triceps, you engage your back muscles, and you just do that exercise, right? Until you naturally progress. There's the barbell squats where you take the barbell, you put it on the back of your shoulders, on the top of your back, and then you just sort of squat. Well, I'm not doing it right. You know what I mean? There's that. You do that, add weight on either side of the barbell until you progress, right? Then there's the deadlifts, right? Which adds so much. It's an incorporation of so many muscles. You basically just lift this barbell, right? And you just add weight to either side until you progress. You do those trinity of exercises. It doesn't matter what happens. You're not gonna be completely sculpted like this Paul Mescal guy, whoever he is, but you're gonna be strong. You're gonna have functional strength, and that's what matters. So we go into why we wanna look good in the summer. I already sort of disclosed this information, but spoiler alert, we show more skin in the summer because it's hotter, we're gonna wear less clothes, and the skin we do show, we want it to look good. We want it to be sculpted and cultivated. So let's see what this guy Tom says. As the age-old adage goes, sun's out, guns out, you know? You have a choice to wear a long sleeve or not, but it's gonna be uncomfortable. It gets hot. Summer's the time of year where more flesh is on show, says Chris Antoni, founder of TaylorMade Fitness. We all feel better and happier when the sun is out, so it's nice to look good and feel good too. But as anyone who's tried to get in drastically good shape before knows, it's difficult. Exactly. You can't just like, okay, it's May now. Things tend to get very, very hot around like mid-May, right? So you can't just start exercising for your summer body in late March, the last week of March, and think that you have done a substantial amount of exercises in order to look good for May. That's not gonna happen. Like, you need to put in months, time. Diet needs to change, you know? It's a whole bunch of things. It'll vary from person to person, but if you exercise regularly and eat healthy, in 6 to 8 weeks, you should definitely notice some changes. In 3 to 4 months, you can do a pretty good overhaul if you consistently exercise 4 to 6 times a week and follow a good diet. Yeah, exactly. But 6 to 8 weeks, you'll notice some changes. Mr. Antoni of TaylorMade Fitness is right to some degree. Definitely if you're trying to aspire towards like a Jonathan Majors sort of body, you're going to have to put in a lot of time, a lot. And then of course, after you follow that trinity of exercises that I recommended to you guys, you'll have to then start doing a lot of specific exercises for a long period of time to start seeing, progress. It's a lot. It's a lot. We all know what in shape is that you have a very, very low body fat percentage compared to your muscle, right? If you have a lot of muscle and low body fat, then you are in shape. Of course, I also consider having muscles for a functional purpose, right? Being able to lift more, being able to have more stamina, being able to, do a lot of cardio so you have a lot of energy to persist throughout the day. This is how I view being in shape. Aesthetics, looking good, looking like a Greek god, right? Which was, remember, chiseled and manufactured, right? Amplifying and exaggerating the best parts in the male physique. Aesthetics should never be the goal. I think that you should try to be functionally strong, and I think eventually you're gonna be all right. So that's it for that article. We are going to move on to something else. We're gonna get into this the Truth About Incel Forums article right now. This is interesting. So it's written by a woman, and this is gonna be a little controversial because, obviously with the title, we are already be lashing out at a group of people. Let's see what she says. We have, as I approached my 30th birthday, I became fixated on fertility and how men see women, right? So, okay, let's begin, because this is definitely gonna be just like some article basically bashing men on the internet that bash women to some degree. I think my take on this, just before we get into this, based off the title alone, I'm not gonna go so far as to call people involuntary celibates, because that's essentially what incel means, right? But I just think that everyone has an opportunity to go and sleep with women and do things, but I just think that maybe they just not attractive to women, right, generally. And I think they go on these websites and they spout a lot of like this vitriolic content. They try to use science and facts in order to validate why they should continue acting a certain way which is negative towards women. Although there are biological facts, women hitting the wall and whatnot, being less attractive, I think that we shouldn't remind women of that every day as some way to shame them into dealing with some subpar relationship. I think, my personal opinion. But let's go. Men age like wine while women age like milk, the anonymous comment sneered. It was lockdown and I'd become obsessed with consuming incel content on Reddit. Incel, of course, is an amalgamation of the words involuntary and celibate, like I said to you guys earlier. And despite being neither, I still got sucked in. I was turning 30, which has always had deeper connotations for women. Read the often quoted and often outdated stats online, and you might end up like me, convinced your fertility, looks, and love life were about to drop off a cliff. So the thing is, it doesn't help that we have a lot of celebrities that do prey after young women, like very, very young women. I'm talking about like under 19, like 18 years old. We have Drake. We have, who's the other one? Leonardo DiCaprio, who I talked about earlier in an earlier segment of Peruse the News. And a lot of other unnamed celebrities that don't necessarily broadcast this stuff, but you could tell from the people that they choose as partners that they're really like the younger women. So generally, men tend to pick that type of woman, not based off what celebrities are picking, but that's just a thing that they do. Maybe because I guess younger women are a bit more malleable, a bit more fertile, right? Technically, because they haven't lost all their eggs yet because they're young. Honestly, I'm on semen retention, celibacy all the way. Older women are very, very nice. Of course, they're a bit more mature. They have a lot to talk about, a lot more than a younger woman. And, if you go to the gym, you could sort of stretch that biological clock a little bit. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, however biology doles out it's what it does, it'll dole out what it does. Let's continue. The posters had a word for that, the wall, as I was saying before. The point in time when we'd no longer be deemed, someone to sleep with. There was naturally no wall for men. The wall is real, the wall takes no prisoners, and the wall always wins, one gloated. While people suffered and died in the pandemic, I selfishly grieved the last of my hot years lost to the lockdown. It felt like a crucial time to be stuck indoors. I wasn't sure I wanted a family, but suddenly everyone had miraculously produced a partner and a baby just in time to turn 30. I think that this guy is just trying to be ironic. This woman is just trying to be sarcastic. Just because she's like, oh my goodness, I've been just so steeped in all the Reddit posts online bashing women that I felt horrible that I wasn't having children by 30. I thought that since I'm nearing 30, eventually people are just suddenly not gonna wanna sleep with me anymore. She's definitely being sarcastic on purpose. When she talks about her curious nature and some of the aspects of this incel culture on Reddit, online, I think that she's just trying to use this as a way to get back at those individuals that are stating facts, albeit in a very, very brash, aggressive way. As I dove deeper into the manosphere, now she's categorizing this stuff as a type of material, as a type of content. I noticed an intense preoccupation with women's fertility. Women who chose the career and cock carousel over a loving relationship would pay for it. And here were the unfavorable egg freezing stats to prove it. Artificial wombs would make women obsolete. My insecurities around aging were at war with my belief that women should be celebrated at every age. While for these guys, it wasn't up for debate. Cooped up and endlessly curious, I couldn't stop reading. For a while, I watched them like animals in a zoo. Listen, at the end of the day, it all depends on what you want as a man, right? And what you want as a woman. If you are a man and you're not necessarily looking for a family, starting for a family, then dating older women is a viable solution. Because at the end of the day, they're less likely to produce kids because they are older, they're in their 30s or whatever. And you're not looking for that, so that's good. And hopefully, she would not look for that as well, if just so you guys could be in agreement with each other. If you're a man that wants children, then a younger woman that's more fertile will be the more obvious choice, right? Because she's more fertile. The thing is, a lot of these guys, like I said, they use this scientific reasoning, this biological fact, these edicts, as a way to bash women a little bit more. Feminism has, to some degree, ruined the modern world and the Western world. Part of the reason why I would like to move overseas, because I mean, I'm not necessarily looking for a relationship, but it's one is definitely not the most viable here. But a lot of these guys are not necessarily looking to start a family, and a lot of these guys are not looking to be relationship material. They're just using these biological facts to sort of attack women. And I don't think that, this opens up the door to being attacked and perpetuating this whole war between the sexes that lead to this loneliness pandemic in the first place. I think that we just need to try to find some way to get along. And I think we've always had this, even during the Sex and the City days, like in the 90s, we've always been warring at each other, men and women. I think Cosmopolitan used to take jibs at men, and I guess Maxim and Men's Health or whatever men-focused magazine would take jibs at women. But it wasn't as crazy as it is now. I just think that we just need to put aside these silly points of contention and try to get along. I would like to think a lot of us do get along, but I think that number is slowly dwindling day by day because we keep arguing with each other about pointless stuff. She finally turned 30 and hit the dreaded wall, then nothing. We emerged from the third and final lockdown. I was shocked, peeping at a mirror to realize I looked the same. There was no palpable decline in my sexual market value. Well, you can't gauge that on your own. I mean, other people have to gauge that for you because if you got to be attractive to other people if you're trying to properly, objectively gauge your sexual market value. Still, I wasn't ready to look away. I continued using the forums and noticed the wall age dropped from 30 to 25, then it dropped to 22. A woman of 22, they gloated, didn't have the emotional baggage of one with a higher body count. My kind was for the streets. This is fun. This is hilarious. Then Andrew Tate, we all know who he is, piped up with, the reason 18 and 19-year-olds are more attractive than 25-year-olds is because they've been through less dick. Okay, I find women attractive. At the end of the day, I'm not in a place to start a family because I want to continuously advance, just who I am. I want to advance. I want to ascend in this practice of semen retention, which is why I'm not looking for a woman right now. But when I didn't have problems with women in their 30s. I had no problems with women in their mid-30s, late 20s, because they just had a lot to talk about. I'm a guy that likes conversation, and they were beautiful too. A lot of them went to the gym. They took care of themselves. They didn't have like any plastic augmentation of any sort. They were attractive women. The more people that men and women sleep with, the less their ability to pair bond is, which is produced by chemicals that are released. That means when you are finally ready to start a family, you won't be able to, when you sleep with that person that you're trying to settle down with, be monogamous with, you will still have you wouldn't really feel any sort of tie with them because you've been sleeping around a lot. That's a thing that befalls men and women, so that's something that we should definitely consider. Let's go on to the next article. We had a lot to talk about pertaining to the incel forums. Oh, this is interesting. Business Insider magazine, right? Written by Charissa Chong. And the name of the article is, using a fake name on my resume might have worked, but I felt guilty. Listen, I never thought about doing that. My name is kind of long in real life, but I never thought about changing my name in order to try to get much more of an advantage in the job market, because I always was a person that thought that merit would open doors. Of course, I'm a firm believer now that that is just simply not the case. There are gatekeepers that are trying to gatekeep certain industries and not allow people of a certain caliber, of a certain type, to enter those said industries. It doesn't matter if you change your name. It doesn't matter if you have 3 PhDs, like I always say. If they don't want you in the club, they don't want you in the club. But let's read this. This As Told To essay is based on a transcribed conversation with Mukhtar Kadiri, 39, from the Greater Toronto Area, Canada, about how he decided to go by a different name in the workplace. The following has been edited for length and clarity. My dad named me Mukhtar after his friend from high school. It means chosen one in Arabic. That's nice. I've come to really like my name. It feels special and mysterious, but it took me a while to get there. In 2007, I added an English-sounding name to my resume in the hopes that it could help me land a job. I don't know if that's the reason I landed a role in the end, but I felt I wanted to fit in and not be looked at as another. So I'm going to tell you something about this. There's a lot of foreign cultures that of course, move to the United States and change their names to something that's acceptable, like Jim, Thomas, Clarence, right? In order to be accepted by the people around them. And at the end of the day, you still look different from the racial majority, right? So you'll always be looked at as another unless you do like some plastic surgery, some Michael Jackson type plastic surgery to some sort. And even then you'll be scrutinized even more, because that attempt is just gonna end in vain for any sort of people that you're trying to charm or impress. I think that my personal opinion I like my name is a little weird. I still keep my name no matter what. When I speak to people, someone would say, hey, oh, my name is Jonathan. Okay, my name is this. It doesn't matter how different it is, it's my name. And my father named me that, my father and my mom came together and named me that. I'm not gonna try to change it to try to fit into a world that will find some other way to discriminate against me anyway. Don't ever try to be part of the hive. You will lose every single time. I was born in Edo State, Nigeria. Let's go, Nigeria, stand up. Although my family is Muslim, I was mostly surrounded by Christian people where I was growing up. Having an Arabic name signaled to people that I was Muslim. I remember feeling different and being teased by other kids because of my religion. I moved to the US for college in 2002 and studied petroleum engineering at Texas Tech University. That's deep. If he couldn't find a job with that specific study, the job market is just screwed then. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that just seems like a very, very high skill industry. And I don't think that a lot of people would go into that. So that's interesting. I continue to feel like I'm a minority at college. In Nigeria, there are certain ways of classifying people, such as by tribe and religion. But in the US, I found that people are stereotyped based on their race. Welcome to the US. Welcome to the Western society, Mukhtar. People will not like you just because you are a dark tone. That's just the reality of the world. People thought I'd fit into the African American box because of the way I looked, but I didn't feel like I fit into any category. Toward the end of my college experience, I started preparing to get a job in petroleum engineering. I attended all the career workshops, worked on my resume, applied for jobs, and went to interviews. I noticed some of my American classmates were getting lots of offers, but I was struggling to land an opportunity. I was an international student, and my employer would have to sponsor my H-1B visa. That also made it harder for me to get hired than my American peers. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie. When I grew up, I wasn't really fixated on the idea of race and race being like a factor for getting jobs or being refused a job or refused an opportunity of some sort. I always figured that intelligence, at the end of the day, it will be the key to opening up all doors. We are in a world where the majority of individuals, or a lot of individuals, base people or categorize people based on the color of their skin. What people do is that they connect certain types of cultures to people of various skin tones. If you're dark skinned, no manners, no respect for other people and whatnot, and all around aggressive, people will be less likely to be invitational to people that are darker skin. If you are someone of a lighter skin, it's a culture of elegance, proper eating, and all that silly stuff. And at least that's the perception. People will be a bit more inclusive to people that are of lighter skin tones. The thing is, though, I believe that a lot of people, like I said, it all depends on, let's get a little metaphysical here, the energetical output of an individual, whether that individual be white, black, Spanish, Nepalese, or anything. And if that energy makes people uncomfortable because of how refined or how true it is, then you're just not going to be invited to the clubhouse. It's just that simple. And I think that in this situation, it's neither of those things, race or some metaphysical energetic output in the form of aura. But I just think that it's harder for a lot of corporations to hire people, especially when they need to sponsor their H-1B visa. You know, it's just more work for the corporation. So that will lend to corporations being less likely to help individuals. I don't think that it has to do with his name, to be honest. Studies have shown that resumes with English-sounding names get more job callbacks. Some of my Nigerian friends had English names and it seemed like they could navigate spaces more easily. For example, I felt they might have been perceived as less strange and more familiar at social events and have conversations that flowed more easily than mine. I guess, you know, people at the end of the day are like, you know, so very, very hive-minded, very, very groupthink. If you seem like you fit into the clubhouse, I'm gonna invite you to the clubhouse. If you seem like you would fit into my family gatherings, then I'm gonna invite you to my family gatherings. That's just the way it is. It's just, this sort of mindset naturally will extend to jobs, extend to employment, hiring individuals. So this is why people that don't have names like Jonathan or Clarence are gonna have a harder time getting jobs, me included. But honestly, I really don't think it's because of my name. I really think it's because of my physical output and how like knowledgeable I am about a lot of things. And the fact that, I say things that are necessarily anti-system. So yeah, definitely, I'm definitely I'm on like a blacklist of some sort. I didn't legally change my name, so the name Mukhtar was still in my work email address, but my boss referred to me as Mark. I introduced myself as Mark, and most of my colleagues initially referred to me using that name. So I'm guessing this is after he got the job, finally got a job. There was also always a part of me that didn't quite like being called Mark. I cringed when people used it. I felt like I was denying my roots or being a bit fake. At the end of the day, when in Rome, do as the Romans. I'm very stubborn, so I'm going, when in Rome, do as the extraterrestrial. Do as the person from Sirius, the being from Sirius, the star system up above. I just can't fit in. I'm going to be myself wherever I go, so that's just the way it's gonna be. If you accept it, you accept it. If you don't, you don't. For the most part, I try to integrate cultures, but I do understand Mukhtar's frustration here. At the end of the day, fitting into society, especially for sustenance and survival, right? i.e. trying to change change your name in order to be accepted by a group of individuals that are basically paying you so you could survive. I definitely feel his pain. I definitely feel his frustration. But at the end of the day, we have to do what we have to do. And you know who you are inside. You are Mukhtar. It doesn't matter if everyone calls you Mark, Marcus, Marcellus, right? You know that you are Mukhtar, and you have to move through the world, not necessarily demanding the respect and the admiration and the acknowledgement of your culture, but rather getting your money so you could sustain yourself in this world and lay credence to your culture whenever you have hangouts with your friends that will respect you, that will always respect you. And with that being said, that's all I have to say for this Peruse the News session today. If you like that content, like, comment, subscribe. Let's share the video with some peers. Get this video out there. Don't let this world get you down. They're gonna try, in the modern world, they're gonna try to have you change your name. They'll label you as an incel if you say anything critical of women. Don't be too critical of women, of course, but also if you say something that's, just an observation, then you'll get in trouble, right? This is just the world we live in. This is just the way this world does things, but you can't let it get you down because it is just temporary. At the end of the day, we're just gonna move through, get what we need to get, and then advance where we need to advance. Stay on steamer retention and stay radiant. I'll see you guys in the next one.